This is the Mets Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Mets rally in the ninth inning to tie things up, but unfortunately the Royals walk it off in the bottom of the ninth, a 3-2 loss for the Mets in their finale of the unofficial first half of the season. Welcome into the Mets Postcast here, the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I'm your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. What was going to be a really disappointing loss for the New York Mets, an offense that was lifeless for a large part of the game, thinking that this was going to be a 2-0 loss in which the pitching was great for New York. You get that rally, you get that hope that you start to think the Mets are going to steal this one, go into the All-Star break with a sweep. They're going to find a way to scratch and claw. They're going to reward the great effort from Shawn Maniah in his first appearance of the season, but unfortunately, the Royals walked it off in the bottom of the ninth. We should start this game. The focus of this game was Clay Holmes starting, Shawn Maniah making his season debut coming out of the pen. And so that's where we'll start today's postcast.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Putting the result of the game aside, putting the way the game ended aside, I'm not sure you could ask for a better outing with Clay Holmes starting and then Shawn Maniah coming in as the piggyback. Clay Holmes battled in this game, gave you 5 innings, allowed the 2 runs, handed things off to Shawn Maniah, and boy, did Shawn Maniah look like he didn't miss a beat. Over the 3 1/3 innings pitched that he had in this game, 7 strikeouts. Really, that free and easy fastball from that sidearm slot delivery was there. Started to get the feel of the breaking stuff as his outing wore on, and that looked like we were watching midseason last year version of Shawn Maniah. If you would have told anybody who hadn't watched Mets baseball all season that Shawn Maniah had been pitching all year, you wouldn't have known that he had missed the start of this season with an injury. Looked absolutely outstanding. I don't think you could have asked for a better outing. Yeah, is the loss going to go on his record? Sure. I don't care about that at all. He looked just as good as he did last year. And so anybody who was maybe concerned that last year was a flash in the pan, that last year couldn't be repeated for Shawn Maniah, I think today, this first start, the first time that we've seen him this season, should at least calm any of those concerns, because he looked just as good as he was in the second half of last year and during the postseason. And so now the Mets are going to get to go into the second half of next season with their full complement of their rotation. They'll come out of this break and David Peterson will be a healthy member of their rotation. Kodai Senga will be a healthy member of their rotation. Clay Holmes, Frankie Montas, Shawn Maniah, all 5 of those guys will be available. And after this, how do you not feel great about Shawn Maniah being able to start a game and give you some length and be able to be the ace that he was last year? So again, the results, yeah, unfortunate that Manaea is the guy that gives it up in that spot in the ninth. But again, I thought he looked absolutely outstanding. And when you put it on paper with the way the Mets were aggressive yesterday, knowing that you weren't going to have, your A relievers, Edwin Diaz was not going to be available today. You see the Mets score the 2 in the top of the ninth. And I know for me, it was like, great. You're going to have Shawn Maniah going in the bottom of the ninth. This game should go to extras, no problem. So unfortunate that the speedy guy in Tolbert gets on base. He's able to steal second with ease. And then on a base hit, no matter where the base hit is hit in that ballpark, he's going to be able to score with that type of speed. But again, if you looked at it on paper, I think the Mets would say, even though they lost, happy with the way the pitching plan was executed here today. Holmes did have that one small blow-up inning, but was able to work around it. And again, on a night and on a day, afternoon, when you knew that you didn't have to go 6, 7, 8 innings because Shawn Maniah was going to be ready to go. Also, great that the rain held off. There was a pop-up storm that was developing near Kauffman Stadium throughout the course of the game that certainly was worried that it was going to delay this game and perhaps wash away the ability for Shawn Maniah to come in to this one. So glad that that rain held off and glad that the Mets were able to get both of those guys out there. But yeah, the story of this one is the offense being quiet up until the ninth inning. And I am just as frustrated as you are because let's face it, I have not looked. So we're going to do this together here to close up the first half. We're going to see exactly what the numbers were. I knew in real time, like watching the game, it felt frustrating. It felt like they didn't have a hit with runners in scoring position. They ended the day 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. They left 8 men on base. And it was the latter stages of this game where it really started to get frustrated, because in the 6th inning, they got the leadoff guy on. In the 7th inning, they got the leadoff guy on. And how often, I think in both of those innings, they immediately hit into a double play to wash away that chance, that opportunity to draw close in this game, to put some pressure on the Kansas City Royals. Because, I mean, you saw what they were able to do to Carlos Estevez in the 9th inning. They just owned Carlos Estevez. The last 3 outings for Estevez against the Mets, all blown saves. The NLDS game against the Mets as a Philly, and then these 2 games in this series as the closer for the Kansas City Royals. So they were able to get to him. And they had a chance in the 6th. They had a chance in the 7th. Leadoff guys on all over the place in this game, but unable to do anything with those opportunities. Make teams, you got to punish teams when they allow the leadoff guy on. Hit, walk, hit batsman, error, whatever the case is. Leadoff guy on in a 2-0 game where one swing gets you right back in it. I mean, how close was Jeff McNeil to tie in this game himself there in that 9th inning? You got to take advantage of those chances when they come up. And the Mets did have those chances. 1st inning, Mark Vientos hits a triple. Runner at third, less than 2 outs. Can't get him home to start Clay Holmes off on a good note. Start Clay Holmes with a 1-0 lead. Not able to do that. And as KCB says in the YouTube chat, it feels impossible for the Mets offense to be there for a whole series. There is always one game where they just disappear. And yeah, it just feels like there isn't that everyday consistency. And we have mentioned it here. It's become somewhat of a meme in Mets Twitter land, but the Fab Four. The Fab Four today: Francisco Lindor 0 for 5. Juan Soto 0 for 4. Pete Alonso 0 for 1 with 3 walks. Brendan Nimmo 1 for 4. You don't need me as the postcast host. I know I'm supposed to provide the analysis. You don't need me to provide the analysis of the Mets aren't going to win baseball games when their Fab Four combined for just 1 hit, because we all know what the rest of the lineup is providing this season. We all know that after the 6th spot, 6, 7, 8, 9, good luck getting 2 hits combined from those 4 hitters over the course of a game, over the course of a series. So when the Fab Four are only going to have 1 hit combined, Lindor back in the leadoff spot here in this game goes 0 for 5. Listen, stuff to keep an eye on. We'll do something here early. Good for Mark Vientos to have a great series. They moved him back into the 2 spot. Felt like it was a little early to do that. I know he had a couple of really nice games. I did feel like it was a little quick to put him back into that 2 spot, but boy, did he respond. The triple, a 2 for 4 day. His confidence feels back. Really unfortunate that he's now going to have a bunch of days off and is not going to play until Friday to not just be able to keep the snowball rolling here, but good to see him back in that 2 spot and thriving the way that he was. But the Mets, obviously the Fab Four and Mark Vientos was supposed to be the centerpiece of the offense. Well, Mark Vientos did his job today. It was the rest of the Fab Four that didn't do a whole lot. The break coming up for the New York Mets. We'll discuss that. Your thoughts always welcome here on the Mets Postcast in the live YouTube chat. We will get to all of it here on the other side. Second half, right around the corner. We've all been there, waiting, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you have been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. Well, that's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Perhaps you want to get involved with the second half of Mets baseball. Gametime is going to be your place to do that as well. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime or game time, and you can save up to 60% off with the killer last-minute deals. You're tired of endlessly scrolling, trying to find the best deal? Gametime Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. How many times do I have to tell you about the panoramic seat view feature of the app? You're able to see exactly what your view is going to look like before you buy, so that there are no surprises. With Gametime, the price you see is the price you pay, no hidden fees. Maybe you're worried about what happens if your plans change. The Gametime guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and more. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Back here, recapping the Mets dropping the series finale, their first half finale to the Kansas City Royals by a final score of 3-2. Certainly had a rally there in the ninth inning. Ronnie Mauricio getting on base, Jeff McNeil driving him in with a triple, just barely missed tying the game. Jared Young with just an excellent at-bat to be able to get the ball deep enough to score McNeil to tie the game. Unfortunate that the Mets weren't going to be able to push things into extra innings because you certainly felt like the momentum was all on their side. KCB says the Fab Four, yes, but boy, Terens, Acuna, Taylor are just black holes and give away 3 innings a game, it seems like. Beatty, McNeil need to be starting every day. And that leads us into what a perfect time this is for a break for the New York Mets. Not just for these hitters in the bottom part of the lineup that are struggling, but I also think a great couple of days off for this front office, for upper management, to really be able to not focus on the day-to-day of making these roster moves. Because let's face it, you should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. But the Mets have had a lot of roster movement that they've needed to do over the last couple of days, moving pitchers around, Shawn Maniah coming back, right? Injuries to Jesse Winker, right? There's just a lot of stuff on the day-to-day that you are focusing on. And now with the All-Star break, it allows all of the teams to kind of hit that reset button. And I would guess that if not already there, that these next couple of days for the Mets brass is going to be able to really refine what their approach is going to be at the deadline. My prediction right now, with a healthy rotation, Manaea coming back, Senga coming back in this series against Kansas City, you have David Peterson, you have Clay Holmes, you have all these guys, you have what your ideal starting rotation is supposed to look like, healthy to start the second half. I do not think this team is going to prioritize adding a starter at the trade deadline. I do believe they will prioritize adding a high-leverage arm to replace Ryan Stanek's role, to be added to Reed Garrett, to be added to Edwin Diaz, Dedel Nunez going down with Tommy John surgery. Stuff to keep an eye on. Max Kranick is going to get a second opinion visiting a doctor. Tommy John could be on the table there as well. So high leverage arm to add to the Reed Garrett, Edwin Diaz setup in the back part of this bullpen. And I think the Mets are going to try to add a bat. Jesse Winker down with that back injury. They could use somebody to plug into that DH spot. They're going to look for an upgrade to add a bat to this lineup because they cannot continue to just have these games. Today is a day. Today is a game where the Mets should have won this game. They got quality starting pitching. They got quality bullpen work from Shawn Maniah. The plan pitching-wise today, we know how we get frustrated with bullpen games and openers and spot starts. And the Mets plan today with how they wanted to do this, Clay Holmes starting the game, Shawn Maniah coming in as the piggyback, worked exactly the way it was supposed to. The Mets had a chance to win this game. The Mets got to save their bullpen, didn't have to go to anybody else. The Mets bats just need to be better. The Mets bats need to wake up earlier than the ninth inning. The Mets need to take advantage of the chances that they get in this game. Vientos, as we mentioned, the triple in the first with 1 out, unable to get the run in. In the second inning, Mauricio singles to lead off that inning. They're not able to do anything there. In the fourth inning, Nimmo singles to start the fourth inning, unable to cash in with that spot in the fourth. You go to the sixth, Pete draws a walk. That's where you punish a team. You don't walk the leadoff guy. Just like you don't walk the bottom part of the order, you don't walk the leadoff guy. It's Pete Alonso. He gets walked to start the inning. Nimmo grounds into a fielder's choice. Mauricio grounds into a double play. Nothing. Don't even sniff a run there. In the seventh inning, Tyrone Taylor leads off with a single. What does Luis Torrens do with his next at-bat? Grounds into a double play. So they never were able to take advantage. I just listed, 4, 5 of the first 7 innings? Let's go back and do the math real quick. They got a runner at third with less than 2 outs in the first inning. They got the leadoff guy on in the second inning, so a chance there. They got a leadoff man on in the fourth inning, so a chance there, that's 3. In the sixth, 5 of 7 innings, they had either the leadoff guy on, or in the case of the first inning, a runner at third with less than 1 out. So just chance after chance after chance, 7 at-bats with runners in scoring position, just not able to cash in. The Mets need to be able to convert those chances more often because you left the game on the table here today. And after we got done last night, the Mets took over first place in the NL East. With a win today, they would have been able to solidify themselves a sweep to go into the second half to go into the All-Star break. The first time that they would have won the last game going into the All-Star break since 2015, and also just taking care of business and carrying that momentum into the second half. And unfortunately, here we are once again talking about a team whose offense is just super inconsistent. And you know the drill. If the Fab Four don't do anything, it's just going to be tough for the Mets right now to score. I mean, just looking at some of these numbers, Tyrone Taylor hitting 213, Luis Torrens hitting 206, Luis Angel Acuna hitting 235, Brett Beatty coming off the bench, he's hitting 226. Jared Young coming off the bench, he's hitting 174. Hayden Senger's hitting 174. Ronnie Mauricio's hitting 237. They just don't have enough offense. And even with Vientos, even if they call up stuff to keep an eye on, Francisco Alvarez just continues to just crush the ball down in AAA. Striking out a ton, yes, but really just having a power surge down there. Even if they brought him up, I still don't know if it's enough offense. It just doesn't feel like it's enough offense for this team on a regular basis. And with a starting staff that's been overworked this year, with a bullpen that's been overworked this year, at some point, the offense is going to have to carry the weight for longer than maybe a week or two, a month and a half. The offense is going to have to carry things for this team. So again, a series win. So you feel good, 55-42 going into the All-Star break, 13 games above 500, a well-played first half for the New York Mets. Yes, we can nitpick. Yes, there were ups and downs. Yes, we would love to forget about the month of June. But at the end of the day, the Mets are playing really good baseball and have put themselves in a position to be a buyer at the deadline, to be a contender going into August and September. And big picture, I don't think we could have asked for much more than that. Is there work to be done? Absolutely. That's going to do it for us here on the Postcast. Everybody, enjoy the couple of days off from the Mets Postcast, from Mets baseball. Enjoy the All-Star break. Now, we do have a bit of a programming note. So next weekend, the first series of the second half, the Cincinnati Reds will be at Citi Field for a 3-game series. I will not be bringing you the Postcast that weekend. I believe it is for a good reason, because I will be in attendance. I will be at the games on Friday and Saturday. Going to make sure I'm there for David Wright going into the Mets Hall of Fame. David Wright getting his number retired. My favorite player growing up in baseball, so would not miss that for the world. Was the first tickets that I purchased this season the moment that the schedule got announced. So I will be at the game Friday night. We'll also be there for all the festivities on Saturday. So if any of you listening to this live on the YouTube channel, listening to this in the podcast feed, if you're at the game, if you're going to be at the games on Friday or Saturday and you recognize me, you see me in person, don't be embarrassed. Come up, say hello. Would love to chat some Mets baseball with you. Always great to meet the listeners of this program. So if you're going to be in attendance on Friday or Saturday, if you see me, if you find me, please say hello. Would love to chat some baseball with you. But no postcast from me next weekend. I will be taking in the Mets baseball festivities in person. And then we will be back for the following series after that. So we'll be in attendance. We'll probably do some social content for the YouTube channel here, but no postcast next week. Hopefully Ryan will have you covered with some stuff next weekend. The Mets will go into the second half 55-42, either holding on to the top spot in the National League East or just right there behind the Philadelphia Phillies. So setting up for a very fun second half of the season. The Mets, their pitching plan goes exactly as they wanted it to. Their bats come alive in the ninth inning, but it just isn't enough as the Kansas City Royals walk off on the Mets in the bottom of the ninth, a 3-2 loss for New York going into the second half. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so that you are notified when we go live after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. If you're listening to us in the podcast feed, come on out and join us live on the YouTube channel. You can share your thoughts instantly right after the game concludes. The Mets fall 3-2. The first half of the season, the unofficial first half of the season, is in the books. When we meet again, it will be the March to October. It will be the March to the postseason. The trade deadline right around the corner. A lot of exciting, drama-filled baseball in front of us. So the Mets fall today. A disappointing end to the first half, but it is still a series win for New York to go into the All-Star break. Have a good one, Mets fans.